Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is officially coming. Now, after hearing the first gameplay details, it is clearly a hybrid between the DMZ mode and the Outbreak mode. So from what we know so far, I'm going to explain absolutely everything we know so far and how this mode is going to play, whilst also dissecting the features Treyarch have taken from both Outbreak and DMZ and explaining how they work in those modes. Because there's definitely going to be a crossover of those that played DMZ but not Outbreak and those that played Outbreak but not DMZ. Ever since 2008, Call of Duty Zombies has always been a round-based mode, but in February 2021, that all changed with Outbreak launching for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Rather than it being a round-based experience, this was a open-world, large-scale experience, taking place across several fireteam and combined arms maps. Rather than completing rounds, instead you were completing objectives and also completing world events. It really is as cool as it sounds. It just plops you into an open world and you are free to do whatever you want. If you want to go ahead and complete that primary objective straight away, you can. If you want to go ahead and do some side quests, you can. If you just want to explore, you can. There are no limits to how long you can spend in each of these worlds before completing that objective. And unlike round-based zombies where you have a certain amount of zombies around, there are unlimited number of zombies roaming the Outbreak map. And there are all kinds of different zombies. You've got normal zombies, you've got boss zombies, and you don't even have to run around the map because you can use vehicles to traverse around it. It was honestly really cool, and in some ways a really great alternative way for those Warzone players to get into zombies. There are around 8 different primary objectives that you can get every single round you play of Outbreak. These objectives test all types of zombie skills, such as defending a zombie's head from zombies attacking it, a classic holdout where you're teleported into a bunker, escorting a rover from one side of the map to the other, eliminating a high-value target, and so much more. But then there's also world events, which you can do to help build up your supplies. Some of these consist of doing objectives like a dragon relic, which causes a dragon head to spawn where you need to kill zombies by it, locked golden chest that you need to kill zombies by in order to open it, and even a massive boss roaming the map called Order that you can just kill for rewards. The beauty of this mode is it's a vision that Treyarch has always wanted to pull off, and with each season this mode got more and more content. When the mode first came out, it felt like after an hour you have seen and done everything. But now with 8 maps, 7 objectives, 9 world events, and 2 main Easter egg quests, the Zombies experience is bursting at the seams. And this is only just the beginning of where they can take it with Modern Warfare 3. Now, in this first version of Outbreak, it was on several different maps. The difference here between this and Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is this is going to take place on one singular map, being the largest map that Zombies has ever been on. Furthermore, this is going to play differently to Outbreak 1, as Outbreak 1 had an infinite amount of time for you to complete the main objective and the side objectives, whilst with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, there is a hard time limit of 1 hour, where if you don't get out by then, the Aether Storm will kill you, which is a very different gameplay style to what we saw with Outbreak 1, where that was a survival game mode, whilst this is going to be an extraction-based game mode. Now, this was all whilst the mode was only 4 players, but we know with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, that throws it out the window with 24 players and up to 6 players on a single squad, meaning you'll be roaming around this open world and actually seeing other teams in real time taking down hordes of zombies, which is so cool. Now, because Outbreak wasn't a round-based zombies mode, the way that the mode scaled was every time you completed an objective and gone to the next world, that counted as a round on the round counter. Every time the zombies would increase in their health and their difficulty, and then round 5 onwards, zombies would be at the same health and the same sprinting speed as they usually would be for round 55 on round-based. So for those who have never played Outbreak, that's how the difficulty scales. Now, we're not sure if that's going to transfer over to MW3 Zombies in the same way or not. Maybe it will, depending on the different threat levels without the map, but we'll just have to see. But that now brings us on to DMZ, which is the extraction style game mode in Modern Warfare 2, where similarly to Outbreak, you are placed into a massive open world and it's a complete sandbox for you to do whatever you want. You have free reign to do whatever you want, which include completing what is called faction-based missions, which take place in all of the DMZ maps, for which there are 4. The launch map Al Mazrah, we then got Building 21, which is only available on weekends, followed by Ashika Island in Season 2, Koshai Complex in Season 3 Reloaded, and Vondel in Season 4. In each of these maps, you can also take on additional side objectives, contracts, or engage with enemy operators or AI combatants. The whole point of DMZ is that it's a journey. You spawn in with absolutely nothing, and it's up to you to search for valuable loot with the ultimate goal of fighting to survive until you've exfilled. Only with a successful exfil do you take out everything that you got within that game. This is highly dangerous because DMZ is filled with hundreds of different AI combatants ranging from basic AI soldiers to full-fledged bosses known as commanders such as the Juggernaut, the Pyro, the Chemist, the Bomb Maker, the Commander Helo, the Rhino, the Sniper, each having their own rewards for taking them down. Unlike Outbreak, DMZ has a much larger player count, going from as low as 15 all the way up to 66. Infilling with squad numbers as big as 3, but you can join random teams in-game to become a bigger group of 6. Similarly to Outbreak, there are a ton of different objectives and contracts you can do around the map, such as securing intel, which will allow you to find the location of a boss, a hunt contract, which allows you to hunt an enemy operator team marked as a high-value target, and a Geiger search to find nuclear rods, which will gain you cash. Now, on top of these, similarly, there are also world activities, which are side objectives that offer rewards like cash, such as drilling a safe to get cash and whatever rare items are inside, a SAM site, which allows you to capture an anti-air turret that shoots down planes carrying cargo, as well as AI helicopter spawns, amongst many others. And they are all optional objectives that you can do in the game to get you cash, as the main base of the game is to build up your character starting from nothing and exfilling with a bunch of rare items, loot, and money. Now, what makes DMZ so interesting is because it's an open world, it's an hostile world where there are many other real players around the game as well. And you can do whatever you want. You can avoid them, you can engage and kill real players, but you can also choose to assimilate, which allows you to join an enemy team or allow enemies to join you, creating an even bigger squad. And with the beauty of proximity chat, you can use this to hear other teams, to communicate with other teams, to either join up or take them down. Now, as mentioned, the main focal point of DMZ is those faction missions, and we now know that in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, we're going to be getting a very similar system where there's going to be multiple characters and they're all going to be handlers that are going to be communicating with us whilst we're completing all sorts of different missions, which build up as part of the main storyline, which is broken down into 3 different acts. Now that we've covered exactly what Outbreak and DMZ was, let's now talk about the most impressive parts of those modes that hopefully Treyarch will be implementing into Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. One of the most technically impressive things that Outbreak managed to achieve was its 2 main Easter egg quests. The first one adding a completely new section to a map with an underground Soviet base, where we had fully scripted in-game cutscenes that would carry on the storyline and introduce some new puzzles for us, the player, to complete before going ahead and facing the most difficult boss in all of Black Ops Cold War, that being the Legion boss fight. What made this so interesting is that there was a time limit, so you were under the clock. You had to beat this within that time or you fail. And for the first month or 2 of launch, this was a very hard boss fight, so much so that Treyarch had to actually nerf the boss to make it easier. Now, from the sounds of it, the way that the main game mode and storyline has been presented to us is that as we're completing these missions and getting through the different acts, at the end of each act, instead of having a mission where we're on the big map with tons of other squads, we're actually going to be taken away from there to a much smaller sub-map where we're able to be told a more crafted experience, where they'll dial down the sandbox elements, as this is a very important story beat where there will be bespoke activities in these missions that will move the story along, and will have cinematic cutscenes at the end to complete as you get the major story developments and rewards, which to me sounds very similar to what we saw with Outbreak's 2 main Easter egg quests. We had cutscenes that carried the story along within the game, and after we beat the main boss, we had a cutscene as well. And hopefully that is exactly what we're going to see again, but on a much grander scale. We know that there's at least 3 of them that are going to happen within this game mode from launch. Potentially there could be even more as time goes on, but I know when this first launched, Treyarch were getting a ton of feedback on what people's thoughts were on that boss fight and the whole experience, and this is essentially what we got in Outbreak, but this sounds like we're going to be getting it on a much bigger scale. I hope Treyarch have gathered all that feedback and we just see this but multiplied across all of the main parts of the gameplay and story. The second Easter egg was a lot less elaborate, but it was still very cool, as we managed to go out of the bounds of one of the maps to a brand new section inside of the Dark Aether in order to face a boss fight against Order, which is this absolute hulking giant with a hole in its stomach summoning a load of zombies. The conclusion to the second Easter egg was a really cool cutscene where the characters exfilled and then the helicopter actually crashed, and we got an in-game cutscene that continued on the storyline between this and the next round-based zombies map, which was cool, but nowhere near as cool and grand of a scale as we saw with that first Outbreak Easter egg quest. And with this teasing the next round-based zombies map, if we see anything like this again, which I assume we could, it could be made as sort of a cliffhanger for what could happen next in the story in the mode as we go in between seasons. Can you imagine the scale of this when you have a whole team of 6? It will be absolutely fantastic. I'm hoping that it could even be on a scale of like a Destiny raid boss fight or something like that. I think that would truly be the next evolution of Call of Duty Zombies when it comes to the boss fights, as they really went crazy from Black Ops 3 onwards, but I don't think they've really progressed to a massive scale past that. Now, reflecting on DMZ with what I thought was the most technically impressive thing, I think it has to be the DMZ bosses. I think that there is a chance that this will be carried over into Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, where rather than it be a staged boss fight, these are bosses that are on the map. They are clearly marked and they have their own dangerous territories that you have to go to in order to get to that boss. And it's also a boss that exists on the map for all the players in the game. So it's almost like a rush against time to be the first team to get there, to take down that boss, to get those rewards. We have heard mentions of there being a ray gun weapon case, and within DMZ, the weapon case is a concept where a massive AI boss has the case. It can be tracked anywhere on the map and can be seen at all times, and by taking down the boss, you get the weapon case. And if you exfil with it a certain amount of times, so I think it's up to 7 times, you have to do it in 7 different games, you get yourself a different unlock, with the final unlock being this really cool blueprint for a weapon or something like that. Now, the way it sounds with a ray gun weapon case doesn't sound at all like that. This sounds like this will actually be a weapon case that you would open visually, and inside there will be a ray gun, and you can choose to use that in the game or exfil with it and bring it in with you in a future game where you start with that ray gun straight away. I would love there to be a mix-up where we see some zombies that we're familiar with in boss form, but also some that we've never seen before that act a bit like DMZs with the bosses that are just roaming around that have their own unique rewards. Because to me, that was the most exciting thing about every DMZ map launch, was going in, going for that weapon case, finding the boss, working out how the boss worked, and getting all the rewards. Now, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but what makes DMZ so interesting for me is that the fact that it's an extraction based game mode, which is what Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is going to be, there's a risk to the fact of you dying wherever you're in the game. You're trying to loot to find the best stuff and then exfil with it, but there's always a risk of you dying and losing that all. And one of the main risks is the fact that there was PvP within DMZ. Now, Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is not going to have PvP. It's purely just going to be player versus environment. So what I'm really questioning is just how ruthless and risky are the AI going to be when you go from these low threat areas to the medium and high, to the point where it is genuinely a massive risk to go in. Either the AI has to be extremely challenging to the point where it's nearly always a guaranteed death unless you can work out a strategy to take down the zombies, or it's just not going to be that difficult. And that is my concern, especially with the fact this mode is being tailored to a more casual audience compared to hardcore zombies, where we go into a super hard boss fight and you immediately die because you don't know about the wipe mechanic. I don't think they're going to have that sort of thing in this game mode. I could be wrong, but that's just my concern at the moment, and I don't know if you guys feel the same. But another massive thing that this style of game mode for Modern Warfare 3 Zombies brings is the fact that it's an open world. How amazing would it be if they implemented some sort of survival within the game mode itself, where you had to find items to keep yourself alive, a little bit like DayZ. I think that's probably one of the best examples of an open world zombies game, where you have an open world, you have other players, and you have that risk of losing everything. And I think that there could be something like that, and I don't think Treyarch wouldn't write this idea off, because within Cold War Zombies there was quite a few different LTMs for Outbreak, and one of them was an Outbreak survival mode where there was very limited HUD, you didn't regain health, you had to go and scavenge to find items and food that zombies dropped, which I think was a really interesting concept, although definitely a sort of early beta concept of what could be for the future of like a survival type game mode within an open world in Call of Duty Zombies. The idea of it sounds amazing, but to me it just sounds like something that would never actually happen. And I don't know if I'm just rambling here and none of you agree that sounds cool or not. Just imagine if they had a massive open world version of Transit that was like 5 times the size of it, but still that open world with lava and everything, but you had actual real survivors that were around and you had to scavenge in order to try and survive against the zombies that got endlessly stronger. That to me sounds really cool. But as someone that was a massive fan of DMZ this year and was hoping that DMZ would literally just have its AI replaced with zombies, That is essentially what we are getting, along with some of the elements of Outbreak. So I'm really happy, but again, of course, for those that expected this to be a round-based mode or just want round-based and don't care at all about this, I can understand why you might be disappointed. But I feel if you did not like Outbreak in Black Ops Cold War, I think at the very least you should give this a go, because this is going to be a massively revised new version of that, where it is just not comparable to Outbreak from Cold War at that point, as it's got a lot of DMZ elements, and you never know, you may end up enjoying this new different style of gameplay. But I also would not be surprised if you were very cautious about this, because look what happened last time Treyarch developed a zombies mode for a game that wasn't theirs. It was Vanguard, but I just don't see them ever doing another Vanguard again. They learned from their mistakes, and hopefully this mode will be something really cool, fresh and different for zombies. And if it's not something you like the sound of, well, round-based zombies is very likely to come back next year with Treyarch's next game, so we'll just have to wait for that. But at the very least, I'm going to hold judgment until I actually see gameplay and I get to play it for myself before really making a decision, because on paper this mode actually sounds really good, coming from someone who loved DMZ, but of course it's just very different to what you'd expect from Treyarch Zombies. So I would love to know your thoughts about this all in the comment section down below. I'm going to read every single comment, and I know you're going to have something to say, especially if you're still here at the end of this video. I really appreciate you. And if you haven't already subscribed but you want to make your way back here to keep up to date with everything Modern Warfare 3, you're already in the right spot. You just need to hit that subscribe button down below, and if you want more zombies, check out the video on your screen right now.